Jennifer's having a look now.
Oh no, I've sat on the squeakiest chair.
You can barely hear it.
Is that all right then? Yeah, so I can move around then. Fidgety, nervous.
Fidgety and nervous. Yeah. Wow. Jennifer's seen it. So we are live. We just need some people in now. That's good. We've got one in at the moment.
Can you see who it is? Because we could just call them out and say you're the only person that will put up with this.
Is it still on the 30 second?
It's Kirsty. Kirsty's the only one in the chat.
No, there's two on the chat now. Oh, mind you,
they just sent me a notification now saying we're live.
Oh yeah, so we are. 2 people watching. Is that us too?
Yeah, Kirsty's in there.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, we're live. That's it. I've got it on my screen behind me.
I don't know.
Weirdly.
If we just start talking shit, yeah. To be fair, people can watch it back anyway. So we may as well start talking crap. Oh, there's some comments. Have you opened the comments as well, or?
Yeah, comments are open. I think there's a small delay from what I can see on my screen to where we're at. Andy Wellborn, Ellis BMX, Rick P, Jack Russell. Good evening, all of you. Jennifer over there.
Good evening, wonderful. All 4 of you.
5.
It's a right watch party, this.
Oh, hang on. That's better. The weirdest thing is from what I can see on my screen behind us, there's about a 10-second delay, so it's a little bit weird.
Oof, I wouldn't watch yourself. You scare yourself off.
I have to do that all the time when I'm editing. Yeah, it's about a 10-second delay. Oh, that's all right. They're all coming up on the bottom anyway. Ash Edwards kicking it out on the treadmill. I know
he's on the treadmill, is he?
Yeah, I know he's at the gym. Yeah.
Give him another 2 weeks and he'll pause his membership and he'll be back to
It's not January anymore. You can stop.
There's nothing like a new gym to get you motivated, is there? You know what I mean?
Mick Strickland, good evening, mate. Hope you had a good holiday. This is grand. We're filling up nicely. 25 people already. That's better.
That's what she said. Yeah, let's get into it. Into it, Chief.
Benjamin Curry. How the fuck are you?
Well, yeah, not too bad actually. Bit bored, bit over waiting around for the season to start. Feels like probably the longest pre-season that I've ever experienced. But I think it might be something to do with staying in the UK for the whole of Christmas. Well, just not going back to Australia at all.
So, no, you've not been back, have you? Last year you'd gone back for 2 months, whatever it was.
Yeah, may as well hand my Australian passport in and get me British one that I'm entitled to soon. Well, I could probably get one now. I think I'm not sure actually how that works, but I'd assume I can. So I might just I bought a house in the pre-season.
That's also true, yeah.
Yeah, so I've bunkered down here now. That's it. I'm British.
Yeah, that's a boy. That's a boy. We'll take that. All these people that are doing the exercise stuff. Andy Wellborn on the turbo trainer. Stuart Wood, good evening.
Brad Woodage. Back from the gym, just back from the gym for me. So yeah, everyone.
Why the vending machine run out?
Yeah.
Norman Kane, I think he's in the desert somewhere. I think he's in Kuwait at the moment. We're global, Ben.
Yeah, we are global. To be fair,
we're global.
I mean, we might be just a bit too early for our Aussie viewers. I mean, the last thing I want to do at 6 a.m. in the morning is watch us anyway. So.
It's going to put you up for breakfast, isn't it?
I say 6 p.m. 7. It doesn't matter what time it is. I wouldn't watch us anyway, so I don't know why there's people here. But anyway.
Oh, have faith, man. Have faith. People love to see us.
Anyway, I've been enjoying watching the podcast that you've been getting around to. So it's been good to tune in as a fan of bikes, and I just want stuff to get going now. You know, I just want to get. Yeah, hopefully this works for me this pre-season with staying here, training hard, being patient. But yeah, I just got to try and not get too excited when the green flag waves at the first test.
You got a big job on this year. There's some names joining you. You're not going to get all your own way this year, kiddo.
Yeah, I mean it's the same every year, isn't it? I mean, you know, last year was pretty stacked as well. But yeah, we'll see the bigger team. Bigger teams coming into it now with big budget and backing from manufacturers like Honda and Triumph. They're backing it in a big way. So, and there's like you said, there's some good talent kicking about as well. There's many seasoned veterans as well that are sort of mixed in there as well, with like a lot of race wins and championships. There must be an abundance of championships in there as well.
You mean old men like Luke Stapleford and Jack Kennedy?
Yeah.
Is that basically what you're trying to say?
Well, I wanted to be careful with how I use that.
I can say it.
Well, it's nothing to do with about offending them. I don't care about offending them. It's just that they might be my age, so I've got to be careful.
I think they're both a bit older than you.
Yeah, hopefully.
What have we got? Rick P. That's good. Thank you, Rick. Some PBM and Glen Irwin chat's very interesting. Thank you, mate. Very kind.
What a chat. That was I actually chucked Glenn a bit of a message after that and said, fair play, it was a really good chat. It actually had me gripped. I think we spoke on the phone a day after or something like that, and you put the Glen Irwin thing up, and I said, I haven't even watched it, and you're like, nice of you to give a shit about the podcast that you supposedly co-host. And he's like, the least you could do is watch it, you know what I mean? And I thought, well, I haven't watched a single podcast in about 2 months because I've been depressed. I don't want to. The last thing I want to do is listen to someone talk about motorbikes. You know what I mean? No,
especially me. Meanwhile, he's chasing a racing subscription.
I'm flat. I'm
supporting Christian.
I'm a, what do you call it? What's that thing where you pay the subscription? I'm one of them members, but no,
Patreon.
Patreon. But I watched it and I thought it was interesting to hear it from Glenn's side of things. I wish I watched it last night so it was fresh in my mind, but I had a few points to take away from that. I'm trying to see both sides of the story. I can't believe it's what are we? We're nearly in April. We're back end of March. And we are still talking about Glenn and Tommy Bridewell. It's insane. And I was thinking about it because obviously I've been around the game a while now, and I've raced these guys, and I don't sort of class them as when I came over here, your Shaky Burns, your Kianaris, these sorts of guys that are Tommy Hill. You got Hopkins and Hill race. You've got all these crazy championship deciders that we've sort of been so accustomed to talking about. This I would go as far as saying is the best that there ever was. The last season was the best British Superbike season there ever was, from my opinion, with the drama off the track, the drama on the track.
That's something we've not had for ages, isn't it? Proper needle. And between two riders in the same team. I know we had a few instances with Taz and Jason in the 21-22. There's a couple of coming together, but there was never any sort of real needle between them that became incredibly apparent as the season went on.
Yeah, and I think obviously you can't hide the fact that what happened to the team, the tragedy in during the year for the team members and the family involved, losing Paul Bird, and that, you sprinkle that in, a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of drama from other teams and stuff like that, and you've basically created the best, most entertaining championship in the world. And we know how good BSB is anyway for entertainment. It doesn't, you've got the most bent format in the world by doing a showdown, you know what I mean? Just scrapping everyone's points with 3 rounds to go, which I'm sure most riders would feel the same about. But you scrap that whole format, you do this long championship format, and you still get the best racing in the world, which is a testament to everything, the championship, the riders, the teams, everything that's involved or concerned is a credit to them. So can this year live up to the hype? That's the big question.
100% it can. I think so anyway. I think that we're in for the most open season in a long time, with new regulation changes. I think there's a couple of team changes, but there's a bit of consistency as well. And I think as long as the teams where riders have changed get a grip early, and don't let the Yamahas run away with it, because I think the consistent.
Are you calling the Yamahas as the title the title favourites then?
No, not necessarily. Well, yeah.
That sounded like it to me. It sounded like everyone should be having nightmares of blue Yamahas.
Well, yeah, the blue and yellow ones, and the blue and the white one, purely from a continuity point of view. Hey,
who's blue and yellow?
OMG.
Oh, is that their livery? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, OMG, blue, black, and yellow, and then the McCams is red, white, and blue.
Right.
But with the continuity for Kyle and Ryan staying on the same bikes with GYTR help, why you wouldn't kind of bet against them taking that step to challenging for the title? Kyle finished third last year behind the two Ducatis. There's rule changes coming in for tires that will make a difference. Whether that'll make a difference to the Yamahas, I don't know. You've got 5 years, 6 years worth of data for Danny Kent to look at with the Raceways guys, with Martrain with McCams by Martrain Racing. Got to get the team names right. I think the Ducati will be. Christian is ready for a good season. I think Jason's got a point to prove. Jacko's got a point to prove. Moving to Hawk, Charlie Nesbitt's going to be strong. Max is in his sophomore year. There's and everybody else. Danny Buchan at Dow, Rory Skinner at Taz. There's a huge amount of people with a point to prove.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Now, I actually haven't sort of sat down and had a good look at the form guide. Obviously, we've had a look at the entry list. I had a quick scan through it, and I thought, yeah, same but different kind of thing. And I think you're right with like how the teams have fallen with the rider selection and swapping manufacturers or different support here and there. I think you're right. It's like it's quite nicely poised for a big one. I think for me, Glenn has to be like the title favorite purely because he missed out on the title by half a point. He's got his same package again, so he can hit the ground running. Where, last year he wasn't able to hit the ground running as such, although he did get off to a pretty decent start considering it was a new bike for him. Well, when I say new bike for him, I mean, he changed manufacturers that year.
Yeah.
But I would say if we were to go ahead right now and pick like a top 3 for British Superbike, in my opinion, I would probably go Glenn, in no particular order, because it could be a coin flip. I wouldn't be that brave to sort of pick it, but it'd be like
not when last year was only half a point. It's difficult to shout.
I can't pick it, and to see Kyle's form at the back end of last year, I'd have to put him in my top 3, and then I would put, purely because of what I know, what I've seen, and putting my company hat on, which is also the fact that people aren't talking about him as like a serious title contender. Like Christian Iden had a very above par.
No, definitely no. By his standards, he was well below par.
Yeah, below par. Normally, seeing golfing terms, below.
You've been playing golf too often.
Yeah, see, below par's good. But so for Christian and the team, might I add, like the teams used to winning races every weekend and battling for championships. Somehow haven't won one yet. To see them perform the way they did was quite surprising, even being, in the garage all year. But obviously I know exactly why. I know what's been done to rectify that.
Why, Ben?
As well as Christian's really, really good preseason that he had. He's even bought a V2 that he slagged off all year, saying, why would you want to ride that thing when you can ride this? He's had the most fun he's ever had in preseason. He's training hard, doing laps. So, I think that's my top 3 right there. 2 Ducatis and a Yamaha. And do you know what? You could put 3 of, any 3 of like 10 in that top 3. So it's pretty wide open.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's difficult to hit a top 3 or a top 5 at the minute. You can put in who's going to be in the mix, and you can't count out Tommy on the Honda. The Honda's not the most competitive outside of Donington, Snetterton brands. They're its favoured circuits. It has been since, for the last 10 or 15 years. It's always, they've always gone well at those 3 circuits. But, Glenn finished second on it in 2022. So there's definitely some potential in it.
Yeah, I think it's mad really that we're sat here talking about a championship that, and we're not really mentioning the current champion. So does that say a lot about the manufacturer? I don't know. Like, I don't know what it means, honestly. Like, I just think like it's hard to know because we haven't seen the Honda do it anywhere. Whether it's World Superbike or BSB, it's like they haven't done it. They haven't made the progress that necessarily the other manufacturers have. We've seen the evolution of the Ducati, up into the V4 and to what it is today. Even evolutions of V4s. That it's made such a step in World Superbike BSB. But the Yamaha's made a step. It's always been great. But the Honda, for me, it almost feels like they've gone backwards. Like, it's super strange. It's like, I remember in the COVID year, Glenn Irwin and Andrew Irwin, what was that, 2020 or 2021? I can't remember the year, 2020, I think.
2020 on the black ones.
That's it. They literally just launched into the 6-round campaign that we had. A very skeleton sort of British Superbike championship. And they smashed it. I mean, they were probably the favourite to win the championship, but probably not. The bike. They probably should have. Looking back at it, maybe it just wasn't the right time for Glenn and Andrew that year. But they were so strong at the tracks of Donington and stuff like that. But yeah, and Thruxton. But you just haven't seen them make a step. Go forward with their bike. So
they need to go forward at the tracks that they're not very good at.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like if they're always fast at Thruxton, they're always fast at Snet and Donington, like so on. Like the classic, 3-4 tracks that they have every year that they challenge for a podium. And are we going to see Tommy Bridewell make the difference there? Are we going to see him go to Honda with the number 1, plate? With the duck off his back and go there and ride like, a free, cool, calm Tommy Bridewell can and win the championship for him. Is that possible?
You got to imagine it's not going to be the easiest. I mean, I don't know, mate. Tommy he's got the determination. He's going to have the number 1 plate. He's going to have the biggest target on his back. But have Honda got the competitiveness to be able to do it over the course of a season at places like Cadwell and Knockhill? But I mean, if Glenn can pull that thing to second place in 2022, when it was it was pretty much the Yamaha show in a lot of ways. Brad monster in the season and Jason pushing him, Glenn pushing him. Rory Skinner was there for a little while till he damaged his wrist. Jacko was there. It was a decent season, but have they got it just to do that last little bit? And that was the last of the showdown as well, wasn't it? So they had Glenn was the strongest rider in the showdown section, which made a lot of the difference for him.
Yeah, kind of now, glossed over it a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it did a little bit. I mean, he deserved the second place at the end of the day. Nobody take that away from him, the same as last year. But it's as Jack Russell says at the bottom there, the Honda is in air quotes new this year. But if World Superbike is anything to go by,
well, that's what I was going to touch on because I just read the comment myself, and Jack makes a quite a valid point there. It is a new bike. How new? How reformed is it? I'm not sure. There's talks of chassis improvements and little different, sort of things. But from reports that I'm hearing, early reports is like it's not. It's it's same but different. It's not really like a world beater. What you kind of, as a Honda rider or a fan, if you're one of them people, you kind of want to hear something that's just gonna get you excited, and it's not really. And we've seen round one of World Superbike, and okay, look, there's lots of talk about riders and are they good enough, or are they the correct riders to have? That's all just sort of that chatter that you have, when you have doubt in something, but they haven't done, they haven't made a step. If anything, like I said just before, they've gone backwards. So it's like it's either they've gone backwards or they've stayed the same, and everyone's gone forward.
I think it's possibly more that second one.
I would say so. Yeah,
the progress that the other manufacturers have made in British Superbike trim. We can't speak about World Superbike; it's different. They're full HRC packages and Magneti Marelli electronics. But from a BSB point of view, they have to step up. We want to see a Honda in the mix. We want to see Honda, Ducati, Yamaha, Kawasaki, BMW. We want to see all the manufacturers in there, and that's what will make for the spicy championship. They're carrying the number one plate.
Honda bashing.
No, not at all. Not at all. But
facts, innit?
As a manufacturer and a manufacturer-run team, whereas the other teams are privately run, you'd love to see them back up and challenging for the BSB title, which they haven't won since Keo. Keo? Shaky. Alex, sorry, 2013. Yeah. My apologies. On the Samsung Honda, 2013 with Al. So this is like 11 years. It's a long time.
It is, but I suppose everyone's had a little go at winning championships, haven't they? They've had Yamaha, Kawasaki. I'm trying to think of a manufacturer that maybe hasn't won one in that time frame. Is that
BMW?
I was going to say BMW won one. And when you look at it, it's like it's a similar boat, isn't it? Like BMW, Honda. You look at them and you think, right now, you're like the two that sit outside the cool group. You've got the cool group of riders; they're all sitting at the table, and you two just go sit over there. Like we'll wave you over when we're ready for you. You know what I mean? Like you come and join it.
You've got all the power, but you just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, it's like you've got attributes.
You're not slow.
Yeah,
none of them are slow.
We can use you at times, but not all the time.
It's Donington. Come and sit with us.
Yeah. No, not you, BMW. Honda.
BMW, as Brain said on the podcast, they've got a bit of work to do this year. They have got a new bike for 25 from the ground up. And also this week, it seems that rumours are getting stronger that they're going to have a MotoGP team by 2027. So another manufacturer in MotoGP can't go amiss. But I think for Mark Fox, new Honda's a different story. Let's hope so, because not at World Superbike they're not.
Big call.
That is a big call, and I'd love to see that be right. Michael Hallam, photographer, congratulations on your whatever it is, however many years you've been doing it now, on your accreditation for photography, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Hallam, good guy. We do like Mikey.
They let him back in, did they?
I think they'd run out of other people to do, so he gets in by default. It's a bit like that. I don't even apply for accreditation. I just climb over the fence.
I'm surprised we don't get more shit thrown at us on here, because we're not that
nice. This is the one point where people can actually throw stuff at us. I posted a really nice there was a really nice comment on Twitter yesterday from a guy called ChatYam1. And it was absolutely fabulous, really, really nice. So I retweeted it and said, thanks very much. And then I forget his name. Oh, he's gonna Richard. I forget, he's from Scunthorpe. And he came back on. He was like, Dave, I've got to be really honest. There's something about you that really irritates me. I can't put my finger on it, but I really like what you do. So I watched the podcast anyway. Richard Allinson. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. What's your gaffer on with?
I don't know, but I saw it pop up. And
Evening Wealth was longer since Ducati won the Supersport Championship, and that happened. Newish Honda will be better, and even better with Tommy on it. There speaks a man who knows. Evening Wealth.
Yeah. No, I don't know how many years it was since Ducati won the Supersport Championship in BSB. I think it was like, I remember going up for my first win last year. And there was a big, like, Larry Carter, he's exceptional at what he does, isn't it, with his stats and his announcements and stuff like that. And it's like, I remember him introducing me up onto the podium, and it was something, you can't quote me on it, but it was something like 2001 or something like that was the last win, or something like Stuart Easton, potentially, something like that.
Yeah, it could have been on the Monster Mob Ducati.
Yeah, it was like, I was thinking,
he was teammate to Izzy, wasn't he? And that's we were talking about that today with why is Peppa Pig for Life saying a fish drowned yesterday 5 times?
I don't know, but it's
thanks
probably
anyway.
Not worth talking about.
No, but thank you anyway. Yeah, it was. We were talking about that with Nigel Bosworth today. I managed to hot-foot it back from Leicestershire this afternoon to be back in time to sit and chat with you. Yeah, thank you, Craig. Yeah, it was Stuart Easton, whose name we completely forgot in the upcoming James Hayden show that's out tomorrow. We were talking about Stuart Easton, and neither of us could remember his name for a good 30 seconds. So,
shame on you. Even I know him, and he was winning races when I was about.
Oh no, we knew him. We could see his face, and it was after his crash at the Northwest 200. And you can see somebody's face, and you're like, "This is really." But then you get yourself all in a muddle because it's more embarrassing that you can't remember, and you're like, so you're having a battle with yourself to try and eventually I went through the alphabet and I got there.
Is that your thing? Is it? That's how you do it. I just can't remember names. It's one of my worst things that I do. But.
Oh man, the older I get, sometimes you meet people in the paddock and you walk away, and I say to Jen, "What was her name again?" I'm terrible for it. That's because I'm
how
old.
Old are you now, Dave?
51, dude.
Wow, there you go.
I've aged since we last did a live.
Yeah,
I was 50. Last time we did one was November, wasn't it? So this has been a long time coming. So much appreciated, mate. It's good to have you back on. It's been a while.
No worries. I've been getting a load of shade on Instagram saying I look knackered, like one eye. And I looked back and I thought, why does everyone say I look tired? And this eye was like doing that when I was talking into my little Instagram thing that I did. But
it's never the most. Is that why you put a really big filter on it? That probably didn't help.
Yeah, I did. This is the thing is, like, I'd talk about doing all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And then I look back at it and think, am I really cut out for this sort of stuff? Like, I've put on a thing on my Instagram saying, send me some questions. We'll talk about it, and about 20 of my mates have come on there and just chatting absolute garbage. And it's like, I can't do anything. You know what I mean? I can't do anything. So there you go. But I think we've got some stuff to talk about, haven't we, Dave? We've got World Superbike and MotoGP
we've got
weekend.
All sorts going on. Just a quick question from Rick P. Will Tommy and his teammate gel?
I think so, because I think Andrews can learn from Glenn and he knows what to do. Although that sort of makes me remember a little bit about the podcast that I thought was quite a sort of funny little, didn't make sense a little bit, like I was trying to, when you try and add things up, and like obviously Glenn's playing his side of the story, and I'm just not buying it fully. I'm just not buying it all.
Why not? Why not? But why not?
No disrespect to Glenn. I just think it's fun. Like, as a neutral, it's quite funny because I just think, and I know there was a lot of comments on there and stuff, and some people were quite nasty, but obviously that's the world we live in. So it is what it is. But yeah, just like, Andrew's like that middleman almost. Like, it's like Glenn is like getting messages to Tommy through Andrew, and I'm not sure if that's exactly that's not the role that Andrew probably wants to take going into a new season. So it was bizarre, like all that, that number 46 carry on and stuff like that, to see that. But I think it's all. Should we stop talking about it? We probably should stop talking about it, shouldn't we?
There's always going to be one side, the other side, and then the truth.
Yeah. If you haven't watched that podcast, though, guys, I'd recommend it. Like, it's even with my bad attitude that night, I said, I'll watch 5 minutes of it, and then I'll be bored out of my brain and I'll turn it off. I watched the whole thing non-stop. I didn't take my eyes off it, so I can vouch for, like, 100% good. It's a good watch. Now go and watch it.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thanks, mate. Are we allowed to talk about the Honda and Jack Kennedy? big challenge for this year with a factory
You
Honda.
asking me or what?
Yeah, you're the only one on the other end.
I'm not the Honda PR man. You can talk whatever you want about it. You know what I mean?
I think Jack Russell was just wondering if you wanted to talk about it. Not me. I can talk about anybody.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's in the comments. Sorry, mate. I forgot.
On the subject of Honda, are we allowed to talk about Jack Kennedy? Well, yeah, we can. I mean, the guy is the Supersport king, isn't he? Really? So he's bet me to 2 titles now, which have been really closely fought both times and come down to the last sort of race. And he's just had my measure, but I look at it a little bit. I look at it, from a different light now. I've got a number 1 on my bike. I've done it. I've experienced what it is, what it takes, and honestly, like I'm a completely different rider now. So I'm really excited to have those guys back in the championship, Jack and Honda for that matter. I want the big teams in there. I want to beat the best guys. I've got plans after Supersport that I want to achieve. So, I'm not just. This is not everything. Like, hang on, do I word this right? This is not the be all and end all. Is that the right
That's
word?
That's the one. Yeah.
Stops there.
Don't be counting your lucky chickens.
Yeah, I want to keep pushing forward in the sport, and I've stopped back in Supersport this year to retain the title, run the number 1 plate, and have another brilliant season after a couple of struggle seasons. So I do want to prove myself against the best guys. So the early sort of reports, and this is just rumor mill, that the Honda has taken a step from last year. They put a lot of they released a new Honda technically, didn't they? So a lot more horsepower, a lot faster, a little bit more sort of modern day technology on it, if you like. With I think it's got ride by wire, like those sorts of little gadgets on there to improve the electronics and the engine braking and all the little bits and bobs. There's probably a podcast for a techie guy like my boss, Steve. So, but that along with the Triumph, and we got to remember that British Supersport went through a massive evolution last year with new rules, brought back down from World Supersport, and it was a massive success. But they're actually going another step again for this season coming up, where there's even more technical changes to the motorbike. So the 636 is allowed, upgraded parts. All the bikes are allowed chassis upgrades like links, head cups, pivots. So essentially, the class is going like Superbike. It's basically a Superbike class. So you're going to see it's going to attract bigger teams with more technical ability and these sorts of things, which is only a positive for the championship. So right now we're going into, we kind of know like the bikes that are going to be good with the teams that are going to be good with the riders, but then you throw this huge curveball and there's a massive unknown, like who's going to hit the ground running, who's not. Like essentially my setup sheet from last year, throw it out. It's going to be completely different. So when we go to testing at Donington on the 6th and 7th of April, it's a blank page. We got to not start again, but we've got to sort of reinvent where we were. And last year we did such a fantastic job from that point to where we got to at the end of the season. It's going to be interesting to see what we can do and also what the others can do.
And that's going to be another great season to watch as well. There's a couple of classes coming in as well. We'll be here all night if we start going down the sport bike class and the super teens, and there's all sorts coming in for next year. We'll cover that on another show. A couple of questions to finish off on BSB. One, where did that comment come through? Aaron missed it. Rory Skinner on the BMW coming in at Taz, Cheshire Mouldings, Taz, not Cinetic this year. What are your thoughts on that? That's, difficult season in Moto2, coming back to British Superbikes on a bike that, as Mark Woodage said, isn't probably the most complete package at the moment. But, you know, for top fives, top sixes, maybe the odd podium at Knock Hill, can't rule him out either.
Yeah, I think Rory's like a super talent. Like, you know, he's one of the guys that I've followed on track and thought, yeah, like he's good, very good, and rightfully got the right to go to Moto2 after an incredible debut season on the superbike. So has he won a superbike race? He's won a superbike race, hasn't he? He hasn't, but he's podiumed superbike races where at Knock Hill or something.
I don't think I might be doing him a disservice there. I think he podiumed at Knock Hill. I don't know if he.
I thought he won one, but
he might have done. I might do him a disservice there.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. That like the kid's gone to the top level of racing. He's experienced it for 2 seasons and 2 seasons. Yeah, I think it was 2 seasons.
What, BSB?
No, Moto2.
It felt like 2 seasons. No, it's just 1.
Oh shit. Okay. So he's done a season. He's done a season at the highest level in MotoGP, Moto2, whatever. They're all the top level of racing, where the newest and greatest MotoGP riders are coming from, and he's seen what it takes to be the best. So I think with all that sort of information that he's got on board, he's a young kid. He's got so much talent. He's out in Spain riding every day. He's doing the correct things to have an incredible season. Taz Racing is a very reputable team. It's been around the game for plenty of years. There is no doubt the team and the rider can do the job. It's just whether the material can. And I feel like we're in a really lucky situation with BSB that there's not a lot of emphasis on manufacturers like there is in World Superbike and MotoGP. It's kind of like a pretty level playing field. And I don't know whether that's because of the rules or what it is exactly. But I think he's got a good chance to do very well. Will he win the championship? I haven't got him in my top 3, but he'll definitely ruffle a few feathers, that's for sure.
Not a win at Knock Hill. 2 seconds, 2/3.
So, yeah.
Courtesy of TSL timing while you were talking. So thanks for buying me that time, mate.
No worries. No worries. I knew you were up to something. That's why I just kept rambling.
I just wanted to have a look. Yeah, I didn't think he's not won his maiden superbike race yet, but maybe that'll come this year. We shall soon see. Right, World Superbikes. Talk to me about your mate.
Yeah, World Superbike Championship leader Alex Lowes. He's had an incredible preseason. There was absolutely no surprise that he went to Phillip Island and done what he done because of the circumstances. Obviously, it's been well documented, the preseason, the Ducatis, the Kawasaki's, etc. And obviously, I'm privy to a lot of inside information, so it wasn't a shock for me to see him perform the way he did. And obviously the shorter races helped in that without a doubt. It was a bit of a tire war down in Phillip Island, but I feel like we've been led into a bit of a false sense of what World Superbike is going to be this season. And I'm not saying that in a negative way towards Alex, but it's an anomaly. Yeah. I can never get that word out. of a round where we see an oddball result. Now,
more often than not, yeah.
More often than not, but Alex, the last win that Alex got was at Phillip Island. So it's there is something there that Alex has. Has Kawasaki made the step that they need to make to challenge? Johnny last year didn't really get close. And that's 6-time world champion, Johnny Ray, who's, arguably the greatest world superbike rider we've ever seen. So for him to not even get close to the boys is obviously, a huge question mark on Kawasaki and whether they're capable of doing it. Now, the work that they done in the preseason with some new adjustments that they were allowed to do with some what's the word for that, where they're granted a few
concessions.
Concessions to sort of make a step. So far, so good. I mean, we saw at the end of the straight, the Kawasaki at Phillip Island gain some speed, and that's obviously been one of the main focus points on the Kawasaki is the free time it essentially gives away to the Ducati on the straight. There is no substitute for losing 3-4 tenths down the straight before you even go around the corner. So. No. And you're talking about, probably the best rider in the world right now, Alvaro Bautista, on the fastest bike. So you give 3 or 4 tenths up in a straight line for free. It's a long way back, in a lap. So we've seen an improvement in top speed. However, again, I think the track has a huge factor to play, because the reason I say that, and I've been thinking about this a little bit, is the biggest problem at Phillip Island is tyre life. So
no question.
What do teams do to their bikes? They turn the power down. So I need to wait and see this weekend to make my full mind up on what's going to happen in World Superbike 100%. This year.
I think that's a massive point, because we had the tyre stops.
Mm-hmm. So we've got 2 sprints effectively.
So you had effectively 2 11-lap sprints, or an 11 and a 10, whatever it was. And it wasn't full race distance. It was a new surface, but you'll know this as well as anybody, because of where Phillip Island is, and it has to combat the elements. It has to be a harder compound than, say, Donington, because it's not affected quite so much by the weather. So you have to have more aggregate in it than tarmac. Whereas Donington, there's barely any aggregate in it. It's a beautiful surface now and super grippy, as we know. But this weekend, with a nearly kilometre-long straight and some lovely grip, fast sweepers out the back and absolutely cock-all grip, that's going to be... Let's just see exactly where everybody is. And if the one question mark over Buliga for me is, can he fight his way out of the pack? Because that's the bit where there's a little bit of a question mark.
I think a question mark also, if you actually dive into the lap times, right now, we're looking at... So we've got 2 long races at Barcelona. Right now, Buliga actually has outright raw speed. He is as fast as anyone out there, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. Has he got the nous? Has he got the... experience to do it over a race distance? It's a different game now, World Superbikes. It's fine margins. It's not kitchen sink at it from lap 1, massive battles, and then he who dares wins. It's a chess match. It's tire conservation. It's teams' technical ability with electronics. For the back end of the race, and it's basically a long chess match of a race, and it's whoever's done the work, who's done the most race runs. I looked at a little sneaky little sheet that showed who done what lap times for how many laps in the test, and only day one. I only looked at day one, and that there were certain names that had the best data, if you like. So I think they're names that the bookies are not necessarily going to have as a favourite, purely because of the information that we've got so far from round 1 and the testing times. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of things change this weekend. We're going to see some results that we go, okay. Right, let me rethink what's going on here. So yeah, I don't think we've seen the full picture in World Superbike at the moment, but this is probably I'm super excited for this weekend, especially after what we've seen so far.
Ian One a contender?
Yeah, I think so. If
you had a sneaky look at some timesheets and he was one of the names.
You can look at the timesheets all you want. It doesn't tell the picture. It doesn't paint a picture. I think, I'm not saying the grid's going to be upside, the timesheet's going to be flipped on its head. You're going to see regular contenders there for sure. But if you looked at the timesheet from the test and then you looked at the race results, I bet you think, well, where's that come from? There's a certain 2-time world champion that looks averagely slow this year, whether it's injuries, whether it's whatever it is, the weight limit, the new weight on his bike.
Certainly an issue with injury for Bautista.
Yeah, I think all these things are sort of speculation at the moment, but let's just see what happens after Barcelona. I think if I was putting money on someone, it would be Bautista right now, and I think he was like 13th in the test. To be honest with you, I didn't even look at the second day. The first day was enough for me to go okay, but I want to put money on Bautista this weekend, shining back through. Bulliger's going to be hot.
Top Rack.
Top Rack's tire drops a lot. He's got a lot of speed. He's obviously found some speed in the straight line as well, which really helps him. He's really good at Barcelona. He last year he had the most incredible race on the Yamaha there. I remember he just I don't know how he did it with Bautista passing him down the straight every time. But there was word that the last run on the last day, he made a step with his race run, and apparently they changed a swinging arm. So all big question mark at the moment with him. At the minute, he's super fast, but the tire drops a lot. And he's not gonna be there at the end. But has the new swinging arm made a difference? I don't know. But I think you're gonna see like that 4th to sort of 6th, 7th occupied by Kawasaki, your Johnny Rays, maybe a BMW or two in there. There's going to be like who's getting the most out of their package with the people that have a huge tire drop. But I think Ducati are going to be too strong this weekend.
What's going on with Scott?
Look, I haven't spoke to Scott. I haven't really seen much. He's sort of keeping himself under the radar. He's not saying a lot, which is good. Because sometimes I feel like Scott needs to do that. He needs to take a step back because he's got that tenacious fire about him as a character, which is ultimately why he's had the success that he had. So I'm not knocking him for a second, but I think he's just got to realize where he's at with the BMW and team and circumstances. I think it's just tough right now. And World Superbike's no joke. Like, the rider caliber is insane. The teams are only getting better. It's tough. It's really tough. So, look, I'd expect him to shine in races this year. But, yeah, unfortunately, it's looking like another season, that Scotty's probably not going to want, really.
Tough times for him, isn't it? I'm excited for World Superbike this weekend. It's going to be... It's going to be a little bit special. It started off really well, which it always does at Phillip Island, and now they're on to the European leg for the rest of the season on tracks that we all know, with varying degrees of grip and everything else. And we've got a double header this weekend with MotoGP in Portimao.
Before you go on that, you just reminded me on the last thing on the World Superbike front is I think, from reports, the temperature might be a little bit lower in Barcelona this weekend that we're sort of normally used to seeing at Barcelona. So if that's the case, you're going to see an improvement from the likes of Alex Lowe's and Top Rack. So those two, if we have some weather that sort of, brings a cooler track temperature and Alex can get away with running the harder rear tire, we could see him there at the end of the race, maybe fighting for a podium. So, yeah, I think predictions are that, we'll see the championship leader just trying to consolidate a strong round this weekend with the circumstances thrown at him. It's going to be really interesting. But, yeah, that's all I've got to add to it. Sorry.
Interesting comment at the bottom. World Superbike is going to be tough with Jack Miller in it in 25 from Andy Wellborn.
Yeah, well, this takes us right into MotoGP right now. Like, we've just seen Fermin Aldeguer being announced as a a
A
Ducati
Ducati rider.
MotoGP
Yeah.
rider for next year.
2+2 on his contract, 4 years.
Fucking season hasn't even started, Dave. We've had run round in Qatar that no one gives a shit about because it's like Phillip Island. Do you know what I mean? But no, in all jokes aside,
but the racing was so exciting.
It was, yeah. Like, don't get me started on MotoGP, but in like all due respect to Ducati, they were going to sign him up long time ago. You know, I think they just wanted to wait to something sort of respectable towards everyone else. The problem we got now is like we've got too many riders with there's too many contracts. So like who's going to give way? And as Andrew
everybody's
says,
out of contract. I think all bar 4 or 5 are out of contract this year.
Yeah, I say contracts. There's your dead certs, you know what I mean? There's your dead certs that are going to be in MotoGP this year. But then you've got people stepping up from Moto 2. You know, there's more people sort of tipped for a seat than there is seats. So it's one of them where we're seeing it more and more now in MotoGP and World Superbike, where there's just not enough teams. There's not enough seats on the grid. Is that a good thing? I guess so. It just means that the talent's there.
Keeps it exclusive, doesn't it? When you've only got 22, 24 bikes, can't remember.
Yeah, and it also keeps the the middleweight classes and the junior classes stacked because there's not. It takes time to sort of work your way into it. I mean, you look at the talents like Pedro Acosta. Like he's literally just gone blah 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 to MotoGP. Like,
you're always going to have that, aren't you? You got your Marc Marquez that came through, and your Pedro Acostas. You're going to have those aliens that come through, and I genuinely think that Pedro Acosta is alien level.
Well, he's alien level, but he also brings the X factor and the excitement back to MotoGP. He's got an edge where he's got a Marc Marquez-esque about him, where he's not that bothered if he upsets you. He really couldn't care less. He's a bit of a lad. He lives life on the edge. He says some things in the media that you think probably shouldn't say that, but you did, and I love it.
But why not? Why not say that?
Well, because it's just a massive corporate. It's just a big corporate engine now. Which
sucks.
It's sport, mate. Whether you like it or not,
it's elite sport. No, I get that. It is. It's elite sport.
Well, I say sport.
It still
it's
sucks.
Life. It's life. Like literally now. We're in a world now where you daren't offend anyone, because if you offend someone, you've got a shitstorm on your hands. So the last thing
I'll counter that. It's a choice to be offended.
Okay.
You have to choose to be offended.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about what me or you think about how people are offended. I agree, but as an athlete, as somebody that wants to compete at a high level of sport, you've got all this stuff. You've got this camera. You've got that camera. You've got to do this interview. You've got to do that interview. You've got to do that interview. So if you're running with a narrative and you're going down a certain path, you have to maintain the consistency right through. But you're not doing it once. You're not saying the thing once. You're saying it 2, 3, 4 times. You're literally asking the same questions 10 times after a race, and you've got to do it again, and you've got to do it professional, and you've got to say it again. So the throwaway comments don't really exist anymore. You got to say who do we thank? Right, we got to thank them. Okay, and what about all right, I'll say that. And then it's like, fucking get me out of here. So that's how they're now programmed, is like, yes, sir, no, sir. Yep, I'll say that. And then moving on. And because there's too much on their plate, they don't want to have to think about doing all these things, being this person, these old school like legends, like your Sennas, these types of people that have carved motorsport into what it is today. And think about racing and thinking about flicking a ride height device, flicking a map in a race, Do you get what I'm saying? There's only
No,
so much
I get
brain
it completely.
Yeah, there's only so much brain power that you can physically have, and unfortunately, the life is just being sucked out of these people.
And that's the biggest shame. And you find that more and more, and that's what we found on the podcast over the last sort of 6 months or so, is that the older riders have the better stories because times were different.
Yeah,
and that's no disrespect to you or to the riders of today, but times were different and the stories were better. But in the demographic that watches racing, that's what we were all brought up on. Watching the new breeder races coming through, you're kind of like, yeah, I get it, and 100%, I absolutely get it. But where's the character? And that you didn't fall in love with the sport; you fell in love with the riders, and you did fall in love with the sport, and you followed which rider, your Kenny Roberts and your Barry Sheens and your Freddie Spencers and your Wayne Rainey's, your Kevin Schwantz, and you're coming through and yada yada yada. But now it's hard to. You still love the sport, but it's hard to follow a rider. You got Bezecchi, who's a little bit different, which is great, and it's nice to have somebody a little bit different. And now Pedro's coming through, and he comes out with the comments that he does, and it is refreshing. We need you to do that in Supersport now.
No, I've been in too much trouble. I mean, it's not honestly, Dave. I'm speaking from experience. It's not worth like saying, what you want to say, because it doesn't change anything. If anything, it just makes your life a bit more, a bit more hassle. But
it does with social media these days. When it only appeared in MCN on a Wednesday, that was different. So the quotes never came out until 2 or 3 days later. But now the quotes are there with a big TV audience. If people aren't watching it, there's a reel of it, there's a clip, there's a GIF, whatever. There's no hiding place for you boys and girls these days.
Yeah, and I think, and that's unfortunately just what's made it, what's sort of killed it, I guess. But the personalities are still there. That like we're all humans. We all know each other, Dave. You know what I mean? We get it. You know what I mean? Maybe the public out, just outside the circle, aren't privy to the information or the know-how that we have, and probably don't know half the stuff that's going on, which maybe is a shame. I don't know, but yeah.
Sometimes it's a shame. Sometimes it's a blessing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. But back to MotoGP a little bit. Now we're seeing like the circle of riders, sort of coming from these, like the VR46 Academy. Like, half the bloody grid is the VR46 rider. You know what I mean? So Bagnaia is going out there winning. He's racing. Second place is Bezecchi, and then you got Marini, and you got these sorts of. You know what I mean? It's like, who's racing who? Who's racing who? Who's racing? That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. I can't believe you've done that. Where's my Marc Marquez at? But yeah,
you got Marc Marquez pants on.
Do you know why I like him so much? Because he's like Pedro Acosta, isn't he? And he's not afraid. He's not afraid. I like him because I don't have to race him. That, if you get what I'm saying, So if I had to race him, I'd probably think about him how everyone else thinks about him. But yeah, he's that thorn in the VR46 Academy's side all the time. He's just got that dog mentality where he doesn't quit, and I don't think we've seen the best of Marc just yet. Maybe because of the track.
Just this season. I thought you meant generally with 8 world titles.
No. Sorry. I'm talking about this season. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the best of Marc Marquez. Let's be fair. But Dave, I've got a bit of a shock call for you here. Right, I've been doing some reading, and I said to you, Dave, I've got gossip and rumors and all sorts of stuff that I'm hearing that I'm not liking right now.
Okay.
But, and again, like, the source isn't very reliable. I will disclaimer, but we could potentially see MM hang his boots up at the end of the year, and that'll be it. And I'll cry myself to sleep.
Nah, I can't see it. If he has a really good season on that Ducati, I can't. There's a space.
Look at it two ways. Look at it two ways, Dave. Right, he's 8-time world champion.
Yeah,
he goes and bonks number 9 onto the mantelpiece. Right,
not this year.
But hang on.
No, if he wins, if he wins a title this year, that's a possibility.
Yeah, so he goes and just nicks a world title. He gets number 9 and he goes, cheers, I'll see you all in a bit. I've got
mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop. He has a stinker of a year, or he's just short even, and he's put everything into it. He's got the Ducati, he's got everything he wants, and he comes up short. And he go home and he think, why the fuck? Why am I doing this? I've got all the money. I've got 8 world championships. What have I got to prove? Like, who cares?
Ash Edwards convinced he's going to sign at KTM. Andy Malamoto. That's
it's a nice rumor. It's like my rumor.
Yeah, Miller will be gone. I think Aleix Espargaro will go.
Pedro Acosta
I think he'll retire.
Pedro Acosta will move to the factory team.
Yeah, he will. What factory
KTM?
Yeah, he'll go to factory KTM. Yeah, Pedro will step up into Jack's role.
Yeah,
who's going to go
there?
So Marc could go to factory Ducati. There's something in that 24 Ducati that you look at Pecco's start at Qatar.
Technically, the bike's better. Yeah,
the bike is better, and Ducati will not want, as Andy Malamoto says. Ducati will not want Marc Marquez winning the title on a year-old bike. That won't happen. But he will finish top 3, I think.
Yeah, they won't want it, but they haven't got a remote control to say, no, sorry, boom, you're not allowed to play anymore.
They did it to Jorge Martin last year.
What do you mean? What? Nonsense. This is not a conspiracy theory podcast. I'm not getting into this shit. Oh, God. All right, then.
Come on.
All right, here you go. Hang on. Let me put this to you. Watch our viewers start dropping off the cliff now. Right, let me put this to you, right? You've got 3 riders. You've got Bagnaia, you've got Marc Marquez, and you've got Pedro Acosta. Okay? You've got a sack one. You've got a number 1 rider and a number 2 rider. Who's it going to be?
Say that again. Gives me more time to think.
Get your Bagnaia hat off, right? Okay. So you got Bagnaia, you got Pedro Acosta.
Bagnaia's already signed for 25 and 26.
No. Pretend he hasn't. So you got Bagnaia.
What do you mean?
No. We're doing hypotheticals. Pedro Acosta. Right, hang on. Bagnaia.
It's a double world MotoGP champion.
I don't care what he is. Bagnaia, Pedro Acosta, Marc Marquez. Okay, you got a sack one. You've got to have a number 1 rider, and you've got to have a substitute rider.
This is like Snog, Marry, Avoid MotoGP, isn't it?
What's it going to be? Go on, quick.
I'm going to keep Pecco.
Okay.
And I'm going to have Acosta as a number 2.
Of course, yeah. You know what I mean? I knew it, Dave. I knew the answer. I just had to clarify, and I'll tell you why. Because when I say what I'm saying on the podcast about MotoGP and about the riders and the potential person who's, Martin, you know what I mean? Martin gets told he can't win a championship. All this bollocks. I just need data to prove that. I need, do you know what I mean? Especially for the viewers. I need the viewers to understand also, you know what I mean? What the people that are talking to them, you know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Absolute garbage.
I think Jorge Martin, where do you think he'll go? Repsol, or will he go to Aprilia? I think Aprilia are the next.
Is he definitely not?
Aprilia and Katie. I don't think he is. Not if they're bringing Aldeguer in. And I think Digi will get another season. Bez will stay around.
I'm sure. Not going to walk onto a factory team, is he?
No, but he could go in at Pramac, or he could go in at Grassini if Mark goes to
so Martin's
factory.
Not got the factory.
That's the feeling I get. If they've done it so early, Jorge Martin has said, if I don't get a red bike, I'm going elsewhere. And I think Ducati have already made their mind up that there isn't a red bike for him.
Is that
Bastianini's the man. I'm not in the. I'm not in that circle by any stretch. I'm not in any circle. Most people would argue. Before you start,
in my circle.
Thanks, man. But I think he'll end up at the Aprilia is making a big strong showing, as Andy says at the bottom. I think that's where he'll end up. He's going to be. He wants to be a factory rider, and the only place he wants to get, if he can't be in red, he will go in another color. He's not going to be at KTM because that'll see Acosta there. So the next place to go as a full factory rider is Aprilia. And I think that the bike's got the potential. Maverick blows hot and cold. Aleix is, he's not old in the grand scheme of things, but he's not as young as the kids around him. And I think the bike has so much more potential for somebody like Jorge Martin with, as Matt Wells says, Fabio alongside him. That could be an incredible team.
I think, God's sake, it's round bloody 2 this weekend, and we're talking about musical chairs. But
it is because there's so many contracts up. There's 16 riders, I think, are out of contract come middle of November.
And I think Ducati have sort of stamped their sort of line of going down the Fermin Aldeguer route. That's their next thing, where it was like, it was your Pedro Acosta, it was your Fermin Aldeguer. Which one do you want? They're both super talent. KTM went, not a prayer you touching Pedro Acosta. Bosh, money everywhere. We'll even build him a team. You know what I mean? Like, we'll do whatever it takes. He's got to. They signed him way before they even had a seat for him. So, it's only that Pol Espargaro ended up getting injured that it's kind of worked out for them. Otherwise, they were going to have a huge headache. But so I feel like KTM have sort of, that's, for me, KTM, why would they sign Marc Marquez? Why? For a branding? I could see it maybe for a branding point of view. Red Bull, Red Bull. He was a KTM rider. Like, I can see it. 100% I can see it. But does it make business sense? I'm not so sure when you've got Pedro Acosta in your sort of grasp. You've got Brad Binder. Is Mark going to beat Brad Binder? I don't know. I don't think he will anymore. Big call. But then you've got the flip side. You've got Ducati. So you've got your number one guy. He's the 2-time champion in a row and probably do it again. Then you've got the second seat. Is Bastianini cutting it? No. And I think when he signed, I didn't think he was the correct signing. I thought they should have signed Martin. The only reason they went for Bastianini was because Martin found a little bit of a rough patch as the contracts were getting drawn up. 1 minute it was Martin's, next minute it was Bastianini's, then it was Martin's again. It was a bit of a shit show, if I'm honest.
And they signed the Italian on an Italian bike.
They signed Bastianini. It wasn't a shock to anyone. It was one or the other. But I felt like Martin had the edge, and then he did go and show that he had the edge by a long way. Bearing in mind, cut Bastianini some slack, proper rider, and got injured last year.
He's at round 1. Yeah. So he never really recovered from that.
No, and it really cost him.
No, I agree. Jorge Martin should have been the shout. And I don't think he's ever quite forgiven them for that.
But the thing is with that is, okay, there's probably going to be a seat available at factory Ducati. So if they've got Aldeguer as their new guy, let's put him in the Pramac seat. Let's put Martin in the number 2 seat. Why wouldn't they do that? Why wouldn't that make sense? And then he's a factory rider.
I don't know why. There's just something out of favour.
I know why, Dave. I've got it. I know why you don't think. Because that's just too bloody simple. You know what I mean? That's too
It's never that. It's too straightforward. It's too easy. It's MotoGP. Nothing's ever that straightforward.
It's true, isn't it?
It's never that easy. You go, well, why can't he just go there to there? Well, no, because that'd be really easy, wouldn't it? It's like musical chairs at BSB time. You kind of go, well, he'll go there. That's a ride there. He's not ridden for them before, so it's his time to ride for them. And you can kind of slot things in a little bit more.
Live footage of Stuart Hicks taking names out of a hat and going, "You're going there." No, they're just joking. But it's all good fun, isn't it? And do you know what? It's like it's exciting, isn't it? I guess.
That's why we're talking about musical chairs. We're not talking about the racing. Yeah, like Ash said earlier, ban all aero from 25. Yes, please. Make them slippery and able to pass. Like Mark said, he couldn't pass anybody. What's the point of racing motorcycles if you can't pass? It's just Formula One on two wheels.
Yeah, do you know what though? I hate the idea of stopping development. Like the thing is, what we've got now in sport is like we've got, and we're seeing it now in the football world. There's probably not a lot of people that are that bothered, but you've got a governing body stopping investment into the sport essentially by penalizing teams. Well, unless you wear light blue and play football on the east side of Manchester. Dave.
Move swiftly on.
So, and then so essentially it's the same but different. In MotoGP, we saw the introduction to aero, and everyone was like, hang on, oh, we need that. And then we need that. Oh, we need this, we need that. And then rules came in. It's like, oh, you can't do this, you can do that, but you can do this. So everyone took the piss with what they can do basically now. And they've got ride-eye devices and they've got all sorts of crazy stuff that's really sort of come in the last 5 years. Like it's been a pretty rapid sort of
interpretation of the rules.
Yeah, interpretation of the rules is the right word to sort of say. And Ducati done it the best, would you say?
They're brilliant at it. It's one thing. They are so good. And one thing that they'll do, if it doesn't work, they'll bin it and they'll build something else. Whereas in Japan, why they've fallen so far behind, they've got to go through 17 different processes to test it, to get it right, to do it, to put it on the bike, realize it doesn't work, go again.
Yeah.
It's that Kaizen, small steps mentality that they've always had, which used to work years ago. Until Ducati and KTM came along and went, we'll change it. Doesn't matter. Let's try that.
Yeah.
But they KTM and Ducati build bikes to go racing and then sell them. Whereas Honda and Kawasaki in Japan build bikes to sell them and then go racing.
Yeah.
So the mentality is a little bit, especially from a production point of view.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. So yeah, it's tricky times, isn't it, at the moment with how they go about it and what they do and what direction they go. And yeah, it's interesting because like it's become F1, hasn't it? And we all know what a snooze fest F1 is. Like, God, like, yeah, okay, you might have the best driver out there and the best car. And that tends to happen in everything, it tends to happen. The best
rider on the best bike, whichever.
Yeah, it always ends up happening. It's inevitable in one way or another. But, if you're creating this aero effect with dirty air and all this sort of stuff where you can't do slipstream,
tire pressures,
man, they're gonna have to introduce DRS. These sorts of things. Like, what are they gonna do? Well, all right, let's take away aero. Will that help the racing? Yeah, it will a bit. It won't change everything. Like, you only got to look at Moto 2. Moto 2 is not exactly a Moto 3 race, is it? So,
which it should be because they're all on the same engines and almost all on the same chassis. So technically it should be.
Technically it should be. So why isn't it? Well, the only thing I can see the difference is the capacity of the motorcycle. So what tends to happen is when you have a motorcycle that's not got a lot of horsepower, for instance, like Moto 3 bike, you got 50 horsepower, and then you've got a MotoGP bike that's got 300 horsepower. So there's quite a big difference there. So when you've got slow motorbikes, you still got aero, you still got all these things that they have on MotoGP bike. You've got to play around with weights. You've got to play around with being aerodynamic as a rider. You've got to train a certain specific way, and then then it creates really close and exciting racing. And that's what we're seeing in Moto 3. Every year, Moto 3, there's maybe 5 times in the last 10 years a Moto 3 rider rode away from the race. So that just shows how close the racing is. Moto 2, back when it was the Honda CBR 600s, it was a bit shit, really. Like, it was a bit of a... Since they've got Triumphs, it's a little bit better. I don't know why, but it's better than... It sort of brings close racing. But the problem is, it's a bit like MotoGP. It sort of like gets to a point in the race and everyone sort of is stationary in that spot. And that's a little bit to do with... Well, it's to do with a number of things, but ultimately all the best guys on the exact same motorcycle. Like, if you put all the best guys on the exact same motorcycle, it's only going to go so fast around that track, whether you like it or not. They're going to find the limit. So it's very minor sort of like differences that are going to be, and that ultimately could create boring racing, unfortunately.
And this year as well, they don't know about the Pirelli tyres, do they? They've only, with the change to Pirelli tyres from Moto 3 and Moto 2
that's the
from
best
Dunlops,
thing to ever happen to Moto 2. A tyre drop. Like, did you see Aaron Canet? He went off like a scolding cat because he
knew.
Fluffed the start. He fluffed the start and he went all the way back and he came back from 10th. Like, when have we seen a Moto 2 rider go from 10th to 2nd in 2 laps? Never happens. Ever.
Nope.
It happened. And then guess what happened? His tyre dropped off the face of the earth.
He did a Pedro, didn't he? Pedro Acosta did the same thing.
Pedro, yeah. So it's created a new exciting element that we're not used to with Moto 2. So we're going to start to see riders managing the tyre and stuff, which can only mean a good thing. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. Just looking back through some of the comments, Paul Maxi, MotoGP becoming a Spanish-Italian championship because teams aren't bothered for any of the other countries' riders. And they won't be, because we don't have exactly. Italy and Spain have an amazing infrastructure for young riders to bring through your Angel Piqueras, and the David Alonso and people like that, Danny Holgado. I mean, they've got an absolute train of people that will be in MotoGP in 5 years' time, 6 years' time.
Dave, the Spanish government run the show. You know what I mean? These guys have got cardboard cutouts of them in shop windows in Spain. You know what I mean? Our shop windows have got Messi and Ronaldo in it. You know what I mean? So they don't. It's their sport. You know, they've created it. They've built it. So
we're still a minority sport here.
We're
MotoGP over there is nearly as big as football. It's in the top 3 of sports in Spain and Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd be lucky if we're in the top 10.
Yeah, and Italy almost goes into that category as well, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's probably Valentino Rossi. That's the Rossi sort of effect. But
yeah,
we're a long way behind, and I know it kills people. What about a British person? You know, what about Jake Dixon? You know, it's.
And then he goes and unfortunately spanners himself in free practice.
It's a shocker, but you know, to sort of just finish on that point, like, the only thing that's sort of saving Brits right now in MotoGP is TNT Sport, is Discovery. Like, without that production, without that TV deal, there is no real calling for a British rider. Like,
there isn't.
There's no need for one. Like,
but will he get in next year? The only way I think he can do it, as Charlie Hiscott said, it'll do him some good if he can win the title. It'll help, but it's not guaranteed.
It's fucking crazy when you think about it.
And then your next one's through. It would help, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then the next one's through are Scott and Josh, who have had a couple of... Last season was average. I mean, their kit maybe isn't what it should be. Well, there's varying reasons behind the scenes, I'm sure. But this is season number 4? 19, so 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah. I'm sure this is like season 20. This is either season 3 or season 4. I can't remember.
I think Dixon's...
But there's nobody to push them. With the age change that came through, your Casey O'Gormans, your Eddie O'Shea's, they've all had to wait an extra 2 years. So they've had a good run of 2 years with nobody knocking on the door for their rides.
Unless they can win the CEV and they get that ticket to MotoGP, then early age, don't they? If they win,
no, they still can't do it till they're 18.
I thought if they win, they're granted immunity.
No. You still got to be 18. I think the guy who won Sev, he's in one of the teams, but he can't join until I think like the 3rd or 4th round till he's 18. So
Bonkers. I think
it's bizarre.
Britain's best hope of a MotoGP rider is Jake Dixon, without a doubt. And if he doesn't make it into MotoGP, it'll be a great shame for everyone concerned and for British racing. Like, I think it's so important that Jake Dixon makes it to MotoGP for bike racing in this country. It's not the be all and end all. Like, really, like, if you look at it, like, BSB is still the forefront of everyone's entertainment. Like,
it is. It's still the best domestic championship in the world, isn't it?
It's the best domestic championship in the world, but most of the people that go to the BSB don't really, like, half of them don't even watch MotoGP because they can't, because they're not going to pay for the Discovery Plus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, the 30 quid a month for Discovery TNT, Plus, or 180 quid. For TNT. Yeah, you're 30 quid a month for TNT, or you're 180 quid for the MotoGP Video Pass, and that comes out in a one-er, not in a monthly.
Do you know what? I've just read this comment, Paul Maxey, and I literally spoke about this the other day. Look at British riders. They reached their peak in the early 30s, late 30s. Now, this was a massive, this was a topic that was being spoken about a little bit this pre-season. And because I'm sort of going through a bit of a transition myself, like, I'm 28 years old.
Again.
Oh, God.
Fucking racers.
So, yeah, I've lost your fucking train. It's hard to be good at something. But but like BSB, you look at all the top guys, the top doers, they're like late 30s. And
been the case for years, hasn't it? It's James Ellison, Shaky, they were all up there.
It's not new. That's not a new thing. And I feel like and it was Christian Iden that said it, actually, and that reminded me. We spent a lot of time with each other this preseason. We drove all the way from southern Spain, and we had a lot to speak about, and it was interesting. He said one thing that stuck in my mind was, there's a certain shelf life as a motorcycle rider, and I think there's a certain amount of time, whatever it is, that you spend as a motorcycle rider before you can't be one anymore, whether you're burnt out, you're injured, whatever it is. And I think about it and I'm like, yeah, like, look at some of the greatest retiring at like 30, your Stoners, Lorenzos, these freaks, bar like obviously your Rossies and stuff that are exceptions. They're retired early. They're knackered. They've had massive injuries. They can't deal with the pressure. It's one of them sports that consumes everything about you. It's freaking dangerous. It's physically, mentally demanding. And yeah, there's a lot of different variables that sort of produce an outcome of results. So I think he's hit the nail on the head, where in Britain, we don't have, I talk like I'm British, but they don't have the facilities. And in Australia, we don't have the facilities, we don't have the institutions, or whatever you want to call it, where at 10 years old, you can ride your little mini bike around a go-kart track after school. These kids are coming home with their bag on their back and they're going to the track and they're getting on their bike and they're riding until the sun goes down every day. And
we have the facilities and we have everything that we do, but it's every weekend. But these guys are in car parks doing figure of eights at 4 years old.
Yeah, but you can't. I'd struggle to find a go-kart track that's open tomorrow to go and ride, genuinely, in the country. Like, there must be 5, 6 in a town per town in Spain. It opened my eyes when I went out there, and I was like, what, you're saying we can just go to a track and pay the dude €20 and we can ride all day? Hey, like, over here, you got to sign this form. That there wasn't even a form, Dave.
No, just set up and ride. But that's what Rory and Davey and a few others have been doing almost all winter on supermotos and R6s, just finding a decent go-kart track somewhere and going to play on that all day.
Just go on a ride. And what's the saying? It takes 10,000 hours to master something. Well, I can tell you now, the Spanish are closer to that 10,000 hours than we are. That's for certain. So it's one of them where, they all play a factor. And I feel like maybe that's why the Spanish kids, getting back to my point, maybe they finish a little bit earlier, bar a few. So the problem we got is because we've got such an ageist sport. We've got you got to be 20 now when you sign MotoGP. Otherwise, you're too late. So the problem is Brits are getting to their peak at 32, 33.
They're only starting out at 19 and 20.
Yeah,
they're only just getting to where they need to be.
Yeah, you're a dinosaur by then. So it's super interesting, and I think that's why BSB has profited from the crazy amounts of talent that's just floating around. Like, this national championship's a joke. There's no coincidence why there's 30, 40,000 people at the track on a Sunday watching the race, because you've got your Leon Haslams, you've got your Tommy Bridewells, you've got, Tom Sykes was rolling around there, Sylvain Guintoli. Think about the guys that are like rolling around. Like, the championship is stacked with guys in their late 30s that are proper doers in the world of racing, and that's why the championship's so strong and so hard to break into or even make it. But don't panic, because when you click 30, you've still got another 10 years.
Well, you have. Look at Shaky. Yeah. Shaky would have had it, apart from, bless him, for 2018. He wasn't ready for stopping. He'd had another 3 or 4 seasons,
he'd be
and he
still
was
racing now for sure.
Yeah,
he's the type of guy
because you can. Yeah, and you can. Brooksy is. If he isn't, he nearly is 40.
No, he's 40. He's 41.
I thought I'm sure he turned 40.
40. He turned 40 when Leon turned 40 when we did that podcast.
That's right.
Same age.
Yeah, same age.
So he must be 41.
So they're all decent riders at that age to carry on, and it does make it difficult. And I'm just looking at some of the comments going back through. At Johnny Garness, best chance of our rider getting to MotoGP depends how he comes back from that injury. Was it early last year? I can't remember when he did it. Was it most of last year he missed? Next chance, Eddie O'Shea, Casey O'Gorman, Johnny Garness is a potential, definitely. Dixon too old, quite possibly, because what's Jake now? Is he 32?
No, he's 28,
he's
same age as me.
He's same age as you, and he just looks old. Not like you, obviously. At 28 again.
Careful.
28 again, I said. And at Wakefield karting this Friday, pit bike night, 30 quid a night, which is great. But as Stuart Wood said, there's no infrastructure to support up and coming riders. People are trying, like your British mini bikes, Fab Racing, which when you go back, Fab Racing set Danny Kent on the road, set Scott Reddin on the road, set Bradley Smith on the road, Danny Webb, because they could go 125 racing. But now the rides aren't there. And as was said further up, 200 grand for a season. Where the hell are you pulling that from? I think that was an option for Rory at one point to go Moto 2 Sev, but it was going to cost like 300 grand. Where are you going to pull that kind of sponsorship from the UK who isn't going to see it? You'd rather put 100 grand into somebody for a British Superbike season that you're going to see in 33 races. So to try and find that kind of money is ridiculous, and that's what unfortunately is needed to go racing at Grand Prix level. If you're not one of the chosen ones, like Scott Ogden, Josh Watley, Jake, hopefully, and Eddie O'Shea, the next one. Dorna have the kind of their eye on certain riders, and they're the ones that they want to try and help through and navigate.
Which they need to do. They need to identify early who they're going to invest in, because Dorna do obviously they have to, if you like, invest in some British talent because of the TV deal. So that reiterates my point with the TNT. That's how that TNT deal is the most important. That's the most important thing, keeping British hopefuls the hope for the next MotoGP star alive. Without that, it's never going to happen. So I think, to sort of conclude everything is like, how is this going to, how are we going to fix this? Or how is the industry in Britain, how is it going to change in order to give people the best opportunity to succeed? And honestly, I think it's a never-ending topic. I think you need to start with, it needs to be institutional. It needs to be from a kid. You need to be brought up right through the ranks. There needs to be support. There needs to be backing. There needs to be almost like a schooling for it right from day one, where it's like, right, this is the route that you're now taking. You've got to do this. You've got to see this through, and we're going to coach you all the way through it, and we're going to pay for it. We're going to get you there. Or I don't know. How do you even police that? Dave, I'm just throwing things out there. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
but it is that tough, though, isn't it? It is that tough.
Yeah.
No question at all. Mate, we've done 90 minutes. It's flown by again.
Yeah.
So much to talk about. I mean, it's on for 9 o'clock now. It's been a long day, and I think, I don't know whether, I'm sure our great guests and our great viewers would have us here for another hour, quite happily.
If anyone wants to carry on that chat, hit me up. Hit me up in my DMs, and
no pics.
We can chat some shit. And,
look at you! You're falling off the end of your eyes. What time are you up this morning?
5, and I'm up again at 5 tomorrow morning. So I need to sort of get my head down in the next 20 minutes. But yeah,
exactly.
Hit me up in the DMs. Let's keep this topic going, Dave, and then let's do another live sometime soon, and let's see if we can resolve the world. We could fix British racing, me and you together.
The change starts now.
Hashtag Off Track Podcast.
Change is coming.
The change is coming. I can't believe I'm one of these guys, man.
Look at you. That's because you're tired and delirious now. That's it. Coming up tomorrow, James Hayden. He will be live on all platforms from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The week after is James Whittam. The week after that, Steve Parrish. The week after that, Jack Valentine. The week after that, done it this afternoon, Nigel Bosworth. That's a fascinating chat.
Our demographic must be about 50 years old. Is that the average age of our viewer?
30. The biggest demographic is 35 to 65. No, you're right. No, it's true. It's true.
So we're going to get record numbers there, because that's a hell of a lineup, might I add.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We're trying. We're working hard on it. You know what it's like. We're open for advertising as well. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to advertise on the show,
riders trying to get money, and you're trying to rip money out of the industry now.
There's a difference between sponsorship and advertising, Sunshine. Even you know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Sponsorship's very different to advertising, and we would like some advertising.
Yeah,
we have advertising space that we can sell on the show. Not sponsorship.
Your ROI is exceptional. And,
I think so.
We're going to create this is an industry, Dave. We're going to create an industry, and we're going to boom.
The off-track community and industry. That's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Why don't we call it Off-Track Industries?
Off-Track Industries. I like that. I'll get Hammy to rustle us up a logo.
Get us a logo. We'll do a poll, and we'll take it to we'll give the people a decision. The independent regulator of the people will get them.
You won't remember this, but in fact, I'm just going to show my age. But power to the people.
Yeah,
There's some of the older viewers out there will know exactly what I mean. Mate, thank you to Jennifer downstairs. She's been in the comments and replying to people. Thank you to Jennifer. Thank you to everybody who's commented. We tried to get to as many as we could. It's difficult when they all come through, and they're coming through as quick as they can. Paul Maxey, he must be at least my age. He knows that's Wolfie as Citizen Smith. And Craig. So they're all coming up soon. Thank you, everyone, so very much. Ben, thank you to you. Thank you to Kirsty in the background for her patience. Good to have you back on, mate. And we'll catch up.
Lock her in another room, Dave. I couldn't have her in here. You know what I mean? Not get a word in.
Thank you so much to everybody that's participated. Thanks, everybody, for watching. and enjoy the rest of the shows coming up over the next few weeks. Ben,
Peace.
thank you, mate.
Take
Always
it easy,
a pleasure.
Mate. We'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. Take care. That's it. We're done. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. It is always a pleasure. Great to have Ben back on, and everybody's input was absolutely superb, and I can't thank you enough. Subscribe before you go. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow us on all the social media as well. And enjoy James Hayden tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night.